Hello and welcome to Adventures in Venueland, an EVMC podcast. Join us for this all-access pass backstage and behind the scenes with some of the brightest minds that cross the scope of the live event industry. I'm Dave Rettelberger.
And I'm Paul Hooper. We'll introduce you to incredible guests who journey with us as we dive deep into the world of venues, tours, festivals, and everything in between. Grab your laminate and meet us in Venueland.
Today's guest is a lifelong entrepreneur. He's the leader and co-founder of Bands in Town, and he's a media internet entrepreneur, 20 plus years of experience, a good chunk of a decade in Europe, now 13 plus in the US, had a couple of startups. And if you had one of those ideas that you thought, oh, that would be good, and seen it turn into something huge, well, that's why we're talking to this guy today. He's been selected in the past as one of the 100 most creative people in business by Fast Company. Please welcome Fabrice Sergent. Fabrice, how you doing?
Hey, guys. Thank you for having me today. I'm doing great.
Now, people are listening. They detect a French accent. You are originally from France.
I am, yes. I can't hide it that much, yeah.
Just a little bit. Well, let's talk to the person who I'm sure most of the people listening have a great idea of what Bands in Town is, but a lot of people maybe don't. So let's talk to that person. What is Bands in Town, and how did you come up with the idea? Walk us through that.
So Bands in Town is the largest concert discovery platform in the world. It serves fans by alerting them when their favorite artists come to town, and also by making recommendations to those fans about artists they should discover, using AI actually to provide those recommendations. It's also a platform that helps artists create accounts and list their tour dates once and for all, as we now say it, which means that we help them list their tour dates on Bands in Town apps and websites, but also on many other platforms such as Spotify, Google, or Apple services, for which we power tour dates. We also help artists collect first-party data and connect with their fans, engage with their fans, display their tour dates on their website, or post such tour dates on socials. 650,000 artists trust Bands in Town to power their tour dates worldwide. And lastly, and this is, of course, where we're talking today, we also have a platform dedicated to venues and promoters and festivals, which we help sell tickets and hopefully sell out shows.
It's nothing worse for somebody who works in our industry the day after a show to hear somebody go, "Oh, I didn't even know they were coming. I had no idea," right? Absolutely drives us crazy. And even as a music fan myself, I joined because there were some bands that were maybe smaller club level bands that I wasn't always sure of when they were coming to town. And so It was really neat to be able to have those notifications served to me. So this thing has really taken off and become almost an industry standard.
Do you like the recommendation? Are they relevant to you?
Absolutely, yes.
That's great. That's a great way to start this.
And that's the key, right? That's the key to the success.
Yes, because indeed discovery is still a challenge. It's not easy put aside the biggest artist, obviously, to get discovered, to create a real bond and a lasting bond with your fan base. So being able to, and for fans on the other side, it's also not so easy. They're overwhelmed by Instagram posts and TikTok videos that they might go through every day. They know they can trust Bands in Town for its recommendation. And the level of trust we get is such that we send about 20 million people every month to ticketing companies and concerts. So they really trust us. And 50% of those buy ticket clicks goes to artists of less than 200,000 followers on Bands in Town, which means that we not only alert the fans about their favorite acts, but we also lead them to discover and to buy tickets for acts that they didn't know before a Bands in Town recommendation. So I'm glad that you say that you like them. Indeed, it's the key. We are expanding the market for the artists, and of course, we are expanding the horizon, hopefully, the musical taste of the fans.
Yeah, that's such a key piece this day when it was more of a monoculture. Everybody listened to the same music, and now everyone's interests are so scattered, and finding that new music is sometimes based on a friend telling you about songs, but a lot of times it's because Spotify is knowing I listen to this song, and then they know that I might like this song. And Bands in Town is kind of integrated into Spotify here in the States, correct?
Yes, but our recommendation engine is actually offering fans to connect their sync with their Spotify accounts, but also Amazon, Apple, all the streaming platforms, plus other things like Twitter or Facebook. So we get signals from different sources, which is so unique. And on top of that, obviously, we collect the signals from our own platform. So the
Yeah.
more fans RSVP, buy tickets, the more we learn about their taste and the more relevant we can be on recommendations. So to do that, to benefit from that, by the way, it's always better to download the Bands in Town app versus using it through emails or web. We also have a very good web and mobile web interface, but the best way to enjoy the Bands in Town experience is through the app, because that's where it's easier to sync and indeed get those recommendations, push notifications
Sure.
about those shows.
I feel like the discovery portion of getting people that maybe didn't know about an artist or they had heard about them but didn't know if they would like them is so critical when it comes to selling tickets, because the fans are going to know, they're going to follow that artist on social media. They're for the most part they're going to be like, oh, they announced the tour, but it's usually that other big chunk of people that would really love that show that as venues people are trying to reach. We want those people to buy the tickets that didn't maybe get on the first day and, sit there and refresh. So I think that's such an important service, an important part of that sales cycle, because it's alerting people that maybe didn't know they might like a band and kind of recommending things. And then they maybe listen and say, oh, wow, they're coming to my city or they're coming an hour away and I can go buy a ticket. And they may not have never known about that otherwise.
Correct, and that's the same. Artists want to expand beyond their core fan base.
Sure. Yeah.
Of course, the activation of the core follower matters, because those core followers will themselves create a halo effect and probably invite friends and recommend such acts to their friends or their family to go and check that artist for sure. But once you've probably exhausted, let's say, and leveraged this core fan base in a single market, artists need and venues, promoters needs to find ways to expand beyond this core base, especially if such artist wants to grow the type of audience they reached in the previous year. In other words, if they want to play a 2,000 cap venues versus 1,000 cap venue the previous year and everything, and that's a stretch. It's hard.
Yeah.
So you really can grow in a specific markets. And what are the tools that you can leverage? Well, we modestly feel we contribute a lot to this ability to grow from one type of venue to another type.
It sounds like you all are working with obviously all different, you're there for the fans, you're also there for the venues and for, promoters and stuff like that. Have you seen maybe more success in certain venue sizes? It feels like to me that any obviously venue size could get a lot out of Bands in Town, but especially for some of those smaller venues that they're wearing 10 hats, right, trying to get some things done, and their schedule is booked up, and so it's like it feels like even more of a critical resource where you've maybe got a club and it's that's a grind to kind of run a venue that size with usually a short staff, and so having a resource like this would be really valuable.
Yeah, we are indeed very impactful toward venues that are, let's say, 500 to 5,000 cap.
Sure.
That's
Yeah.
what very impactful. Some, if we found out that we may represent more than 10% of their sales for any show, sometimes 20%. It's
Yeah.
pretty significant, especially in large markets, in smaller, in secondary markets, tertiary markets.
Yeah.
We have audiences pretty well spread across the US. So there's no really loopholes. So yes, we are very instrumental. That being said, the larger venues, arena stadiums, which play usually acts that are much, much bigger, they also have they also face some challenges. For example, promoters usually invest at the time of the on-sale, pre-sale and on-sale, and then at time of closing. We created, so that's true for most venues. In fact, the small ones,
Sure.
or the biggest one. Also, most promoters invest on the headliner, but they don't usually leverage the opener. And if you talk about large venues, they do have good openers, like very significant acts, which are opener for the bigger ones,
Right.
that are really not then leverage as an audience that can be marketed. So we created solutions for those venues which automates their marketing. Actually, they essentially subscribe and they get a full control of their venue page on Bands in Town. They get also venue pages on our distribution partners, which we help populate through not only the events, but also the imagery and amenities and description of the venues and links to social links. And then we promote that through an automated marketing solution, which hit the fans and the follower of those artists at time of on sale, during the sales cycle, and at time of closing. So we found out that those solutions are very relevant actually for also the bigger venues, because it does leverage and it does market all along the life cycle of the show, and it does target the openers and all the participants of the show. So there's ways for all venue sizes to leverage the Bands in Town venue solutions, actually.
Fabrice, it's something a lot of us in this industry do from time to time, where we go, oh, I have a neat idea. You know what would be cool? You know what we need is something like this. Wouldn't it be cool if something like this? Talk to me about the genesis behind the idea of Bands in Town, and how you actually pulled it off.
So we were I co-founded Bands in Town with my friend and business partner Julian Meitelberg, and we were at the bound, and our friendship dates back France, where we were always live music fans and core live music fans. So
Yeah.
it's first a story of a friendship. We were publishing apps and noticed that there was no equivalent to Fandango in the US. There was some attempt in Europe, and so we found actually an app that on Facebook, a company and an app on Facebook that was called Bands in Town, but we didn't come up with the name, and we offered the team and the company to join us. So we bought it actually. It was not doing what it is today, and so we had a very clear vision that this should be a mobile first product, and we grew it not only in terms of platforms, artist platforms, fan platforms, and promoter platforms, but also in terms of business model. Really, the need that we were seeing and is that was a need for a discovery platform, something that was not really
Right.
at the time very common. Most listings were presented by ticketing companies or newspaper sometimes, right?
Right.
It's like
Yeah.
magazines even, like Time Out or whatever. That were talking about shows, but there was no personalization. There was no technology behind that would be essentially a push media that would hit fans based on their music preferences. So that was always the intent, to be relevant in those notifications, in those email or push notifications, so that fans can, as I said, not only be alerted, but also discover new acts. We always felt that it was, one of the reasons why I love live music, I love the artist as much as I like the music. I love to cheer by the sideline. I love to be in the mosh pit and celebrate those artists, which are so courageous to put everything they have on stage every night at stake. And so, it's already very hard. But on top of that, they have to tell stories and be good marketeers. And
Yeah,
so all these acts that do not have a team, do not have a support system that is very strong, sometimes they do that against their own family because they have to fight their families, which may not support them. So all of this is so complicated, and yet they contribute to society. They contribute to happiness. In my belief, they
Yeah,
contribute
for sure.
tolerance, understanding in the world, because when you spend a night, you know, with other fans cheering for an artist, you become more tolerant. You know, there's no doubt that you understand it's a tribal experience. You understand what it is to be human better than
totally.
before you started that show. So for all these reasons, we felt that technology may contribute to a greater good in society. And so we put everything we had in terms of investments, the best team we had actually, to grow this project, which initially was a tiny fraction of what we were doing and which became mainstream, global, and of course our full-time company. And today
Yeah.
there are 70 people. It's a relatively small team, but it's still 70 people who are working for the success of this platform.
Did it take off right away? Was it one of those things where once people saw it, they instantly gravitated to it? Or what would you use to get the word out about Bands in Town?
So we did not. We always grew this project organically. So we don't market Bands in Town. We never paid a dime in marketing to grow Bands in Town to this
Interesting.
level of and scale. Bands in Town is a love brand by the fans, by the artists, hopefully by the promoters and the venues and the other constituencies of our platform, the ticketing companies, so the booking agents. So all of these people understood that there was like a network effect and a virtuous cycle to create. And if this could take off and become successful, it would serve the entire community. And that's what we accomplished. So no, it didn't take off immediately.
Of course,
um,
yeah.
we've been more than 10 years around, and it's still a challenge. We're independent, so it's still a challenge to grow this platform. Most of it was word of mouth from the fans. And of course, support from the artist. We support the artist, but the artists support us. They trust Bands in Town, and they definitely recommend and advise their fans to follow them on Bands in Town.
Yeah, that's how I learned about it is I literally had a list and an email that I sent to myself of check these bands' websites every month to see if they were going on tour, just as a music fan. And these would be the like little club acts that I was not getting an email notification. I wasn't sure which venue they'd be playing in town. So once a month, I'd go to their tour page and click on it. And I remember that first time I was on an artist website and it said, and we'll notify you through Bands in Town. And I was like, oh, thank you. That was great. It's one of those things where it's so simple. It's such and I mean this with all respect, it's such a simple idea that you go, why wasn't this done before? It's such a service to both the band and the fans that instantly I was like, oh yeah, this makes perfect sense.
Thank you, but I appreciate it very much. This is something that the team will also appreciate, and we need this kind of feedback because that feels really good. That being said, it's a very complex project.
I'm sure the project is complex.
Yeah, the technology behind this project is incredible.
Yeah.
We manipulate billions of data points to be relevant in terms of recommendations and to allow fans to actually build what we call the music graph, the music DNA, so that it becomes really useful to them. And so it took us like probably 50 million people to be part of the community to be relevant in terms of recommendation. It's because we need all these data points
Right.
to build something that's extremely robust. It's hard to replicate either as well.
Yeah.
Replicate because it really relies on this type of scale. Now, interestingly enough, we built all these platforms focused on helping fans to follow artists. And a year and a half ago, we decided to also open that follow button, that following option, to the venues. And since then, we've been really successful. In fact, I have to admit that an oversight on our end. We're not allowing fans to follow venues the same way as they follow artists. Now it's possible, and venues get an incredible level of follower, sometimes more than on their Instagram and other social media accounts. Followers that are super loyal. It's you always have a favorite venue in your city, in your area, or if you are from a certain city, it's
Sure.
good to and move to another one. Let's say you're from California, you move to New York. Well, you're happy to know who's playing in Los Angeles in your favorite venue that you used to go to. So
Totally.
it's all so following a venue is very natural. And now fans can be alerted on their favorite venues as well.
Plus, people have those bucket list venues. Sometimes it's like, oh, I'm going to make it out to Red Rocks to see a show, but it's got to be the right show, right? Because you're going to have to fly or something. But you follow Red Rocks and then you see your favorite artist is playing there. All of a sudden, you're like, okay, now's the time. Or, it could be any venue. Obviously, Red Rock's big name, but I think that's a great way to look at
very
it.
emotional connection that some fans
Yeah,
maintain with their favorite venues. Very, very similar to a certain degree to the one they have with some of their favorite artists.
yeah,
And that was our way to recognize that. So if venue claim their page on Bands in Town, it's free. They can go to venues.bandsintown.com and they can claim their page. If they claim their page, they will be able to edit their profile and fans will be able to follow them. So it's super important to do so. It's also important to claim the page because verification is required to be distributed to Apple Maps, Apple Music, Spotify. So if also those venues wants to be listed, it's important to claim their page.
Let's talk a little bit about the finance side of it, just because I'm curious from how does Bands in Town make money? I know that's your business, but I think a lot of people listening are like, okay, that all makes sense, but what are they doing is there a fee to venues? Is there a fee to the artists? Is there a fee to fans? How does it work?
Yeah, it's important. As I said, we're independently run, and so we need to make money to stay independent. So the revenue from Benzin come from event organizer, promoter, so that side of the platform and the ecosystem. They buy campaigns to promote or boost shows a la carte when they need a boost or they need to announce a show and boost the announce or the pre-sale.
sure.
So it's email campaigns, it's advertising on the site. We have now 40 million monthly unique visitors on the website. So we have a large platform through the apps and our website. And they also buy campaigns to announce festivals and announce other type of events. Now we also sell subscriptions, as I said, to venues that's based on their capacity. And that subscription, as I said, is a automated marketing solution that
Sure.
really takes care of their marketing systematically and indeed provide them some sort of a support to promote all of their shows and not only the ones that they focus or they invest on. Last but not least, we partner and we sell advertising solutions to music streaming companies. Apple Music, Spotify, Amazon Music are key clients of Bands in Town because they know that we cater to the core fans and to the most engaged fans, actually, which are the concert goers.
Well, and it's kind of mutually beneficial, right? Like, they benefit from the music industry growing and people discovering new artists. So it makes sense that you all can kind of collaborate and work together. Because, if I find out about an artist through Bands in Town and then I go see him at a show, guess where I'm going next? I'm going to be saving their albums on Spotify. I'm going to be, listening through their whole catalog. So, I mean, it seems like it's really a great kind of partnership.
And so we also have a verified ticketing company program, which also offers specific marketing programs to ticketing companies. And in such case, they would pay us based on the transactions that we generate. As I said, we send about 20 million leads to ticketing companies every month and to venues. So we do have a program for that too.
Do you get out to a lot of shows personally? Do you get a chance to go out and still enjoy some live music?
Yes, I saw an incredible show, months ago. I'm back in LA, as I told you here, and I went to see Fred again in that 80,000 seat
Oh
stadium.
yeah.
It was
Yeah.
absolutely incredible. I say months ago because I've been traveling to Europe for the last 4 weeks. And over there, I did see a show completely different. I'm a big fan of underground electronic music, so I did see a show in Burgundy in a very intimate cave, I should say. Quite qualify it. Super underground, and actually an incredible DJ called Liran, which made my night that day.
That's awesome.
As someone that now, with Bands in Town being international and global and working, what are some interesting things you've seen maybe across different continents or countries? Are there any unique things that you all might observe in one area that you can kind of borrow and help, another country with or something like that? I'm sure there's kind of, different practices and different venue strategies happening all over the world.
Yeah, it's indeed, you're very right. Each market is different. First, because some markets are allocation based, some markets are exclusive, for example, with ticketing companies. And it does influence the way they market shows and the way tours happen. So it's hard to take to find like best practices that would be replicable. What I can tell, I can see, is that artists of a smaller size are now touring internationally,
Sure.
which obviously is good because it helps them meet different type of fan base. It definitely influenced their creative process because it's like when painters used to travel abroad in their
Yeah. Yeah.
country,
Yeah.
their eyes saw different type of colors and influences. And I think it's the same for those artists that, leave the US and now tour to Asia and to India. And they do have, it does impact their work and their perception of the world. I feel that, and that's, yeah, Bands in Town can and does help them being discovered when they tour internationally. Needless to say that if they do so, we would recommend them based on what we know about them. From what we learned in the US, we're able to recommend them more successfully in other geographies. We have localized the app in 7 languages. So we do have a presence pretty much worldwide, but we have 7 key markets, which are Italy, Spain, Germany, Portugal, Brazil, the Portuguese language, Japan, and France, believe it or not, as key languages. Canada and Mexico are very, very important to us. Australia, New Zealand, all these markets are have very avid concert goers and Bands in Town users, actually.
One of the applications and I'm sure you've thought of everything with this because it's what you do all the time. And here's a thought I had after talking to you for just half an hour is from there are some smaller markets that are fighting for shows, right? They're saying we would like this show over this city, and if they can provide data to show that X number of Bands in Town users from this city, that has a huge following in Champaign, Illinois.
Right.
That it's worth booking that show and perhaps impacting the routing. Do you have any application that kind of works with the booking side of teams to let them know, or what the bands when they're routing their tours, figuring out what markets they potentially would sell best in?
Yes. Well, first of all, I'd like to say that as a company, because we're small, we like to co-build stuff. So we have not thought about everything. It would be very arrogant to say so. We have a more and really in the constituencies we work with, the artists, the venues, and the fans, and know, especially the venues and the artists know that we like to talk to our constituencies. We never build a product, let's say, in a laboratory without talking to those who are going to be the main users. And
Right.
for example, the venue product that I described on subscription was the result of pretty lengthy consultations and discussion exchange with the venues. So to your audience, I want them to know that we are very available. My email is very simple. It's fabrice@bandsintown.com, and we like to interact with people. That's how we build products. We like to interact with artists. So to answer your question specifically, we don't have a specific interface granting access to the booking companies or to the talent buyers of the venues, and to help them specifically tap into our data to make choices. However, on the artist side, we do provide artists with a tool called Play My City, which they can post on their social. It's a landing page in a way. It's a great call to action. They can also display Play My City on their websites and using the widgets. And that provide them with data, and specifically with a heat map that shows them exactly where their fans are located and where they have requests for shows. So let's say if a booking agent or venue is considering booking such an artist, they are absolutely entitled to ask the artist to grant them access to their Benzintown account and check this heat map. It's up to the artist to say no, yes or no, etc. But they do have data. Artists have data that they can leverage. They should leverage actually to pitch a venue or to have a discussion with the venue and make a decision about the booking. That's one. Two, venues and booking agents usually use Benzintown websites. If you go to the Benzintown pages of the artist, you can check at least which shows they played in the past, what venue and what capacity they played. You may want to ask the artist, what was the ratio of RSVP over the capacity of the venue that they played in the same city, which is a ratio that I usually check to inform, let's say, the level of engagement of the fans for kind of artist on a specific territory and specific market. So these are tips that I can share that are pretty easy to check when a venue is making booking decisions. They can in fact ask the manager to collaborate and provide such data points. But we don't have a formal platform or system.
Yeah, sure. No, again, it's really exciting to see some of the stuff you guys are doing there, and as it changes and emerges, it's exciting, and I love that you're available to chat. Would you give that email address if somebody wants to reach out to you one more time?
Fabrice@bandsintown.com. Pretty easy.
It's just that easy. We'll put that in our show notes. Anything else you want to plug before we wrap things up here? A place where if people want to just learn more about Bands in Town, what's the best place for them to go?
So venues.bandsintown.com is probably the best place to go. We have promoter.bandsintown.com that might be relevant to this conversation, or festival.bandsintown.com for festival owners. In general, the platforms are targeted to the specific use cases that we offer. But feel free to reach out if you have any questions, of course.
Hey, we're going to let you go because we know time is tight today. But really enjoyed speaking with you, learning about what you do, and again, it always inspires. That's our goal when Paul and I talk about who we would like as guests. Inspires some new ideas for some folks listening, or offers a solution, or just inspires you to reach out and try something new. So appreciate the time today, and I know you're a little jet lagged after your adventures, but we really enjoyed learning a little bit about your history and how you got involved and kind of what you guys do there at Bands in Town.
Thanks, guys. It was a pleasure having this conversation with you.
Absolutely.
On that note, we'll wrap things up. Remember, we do appreciate you listening to Adventures in Venueland. When you get a chance, please subscribe or give us one of those 5-star reviews. It helps other folks find us. Until the next adventure, I'm Dave Rettelberger.
And I'm Paul Hooper. Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll catch you on the next one. Adventures in Venueland is a side project of the Event and Venue Marketing Conference, a marketing conference that brings together diversified event and venue professionals to cultivate education, collaboration, and innovation for the growing sports and live entertainment industry. Find out more at eventvenuemarketing.com.
Audio editing and mixing by Camille Faulkner.
Design and digital advertising by Megan Ebeck.
Copywriting and publicity by Samantha Marker.
Guest booking and brand strategies by Paul Hooper.
Guest research by Dave Rettelberger.
Marketing strategies by Paul Hooper, Megan Ebeck, and Samantha Marker. Thanks for joining us. Until the next adventure.